me tell you something. These new Duramaxes are a real piece of shit. I stopped here at the Dollar General, left the truck running, ran in real quick, grabbed a case of water, came back out. The truck's off. Every light on the dash is on. It wouldn't restart. Now it won't turn off. It's still got power. All the lights on the dash are on. So I'm sitting out here waiting on a tow truck. I towed back to the dealership. This is going to be the second time I've had to have it towed back to the dealership that I've been stranded somewhere with it. Only got 11,000 miles on it. I mean, these new ones are just trash. There it goes. Back to the dealership.
11,000 miles, and this thing is already leaving him stranded? Come on, GM. That's a brand new truck. You shouldn't be calling a tow truck twice before you've even hit 15,000 miles. This is exactly the kind of stuff that makes people lose trust in a brand. Before we get into the rest of them, if you enjoy real automotive stories and mechanic reactions, make sure to subscribe. Now, let's get back into it.
You guys remember how I said that GM engineers are idiots the other day? Well, they strike again. Look at the bolt. Yep, that's right. Nope. Idiots.
A lot of people have commented, they say, you know, about my Duramax cranks, that doesn't happen. I've got a core on our Monster engine line that was sent back to us. We send the guy a long block. People have to send us back their core. And now I can tell this guy why his motor failed. If you look here, this is the pin. That's the pin for the harmonic balancer. This keyway here, there's a pin underneath this crank. I'll pull this off and show you. But this drives the what? What is this? This is the oil pump, folks. So when it shears that pin, it's not driving your oil pump. This motor started for oil because of that pin shearing. That's the reason this motor failed. Sheared key. You can see where it's tore up the inside of this. See where it's sheared off and it tore up the inside of this? So the oil pump drive has just been spinning there while the engine's running, and he's not developing oil pressure. That'll take out an engine real quick. This fixes that problem. This is what we do on all our Monster engines, or any engine I build. If it's got pins, I put a keyway in it. And yes, everybody, I'm going to admit my fault. I've been calling that a Woodruff key. I spoke wrong. That's just a keyway. A Woodruff key is a half-round key. Thanks for keeping me straight.
Going out here to start my truck. Hit the unlock button 2 times. Unlock the doors. Open the doors up. Running boards don't work. Nothing on the dash is coming on. Go ahead and climb in. Put my foot on the brake. Hit the button once. Things come on. My backup camera comes on. None of this lights up. Hit and hold the start button. Absolutely nothing works. Nothing works. Turn it off. Get out. Lock the doors. Try the remote start. Doesn't work either.
What is going on with GM's 3-liter Duramax diesel engine? I love this thing. Really great fuel economy, really good low-end torque. I own one for a while. I've told people about this engine. People love this thing. But I'm seeing some problems like on this Facebook group. I got tagged in some of these posts. People want to look into this thing. I'm seeing these thrust bearing issues. Not happening to a lot of them. Not happening to all of them. Just a variety of 2025 through 2026 models. I was kind of monitoring it a little bit, and this morning I got an email from a gentleman who works at a dealership. He's got 4 of these that they're replacing. I thought, okay, what is going on with this Duramax? And so I found this technical service bulletin that talks about it. It's kind of crazy. So the bulletin says that there's some play in the crankshaft that's causing the engine to basically grenade itself. They get a low oil pressure notification on the dash, and then kaput. What's crazy about it is you can take and remove a plate and you can pull out the crankshaft and you can measure it to make sure it's within spec. But it's kind of weird that you can do this and to see if what's going on with the engine, but they're not recalling all of them. What you can do as an owner, though, is you can take it in, you can pay the diagnostic fees, and you can have their crankshaft measured. What? Why would an owner have to pay for this to have done when it's under warranty? Why isn't GM recalling all these trucks under 2025, 2026, and SUVs as well? Remember, Yukon, Tahoe, and Suburban have this engine as well, that they may know have a concern. Because you can also listen to it behind the bell housing and see if there's any sound coming back, like a rattling or something, to know something's going on before you have to replace the engine. So it seems to me it'll be a whole lot cheaper. Just recall it in, listen to it, pull out the crankshaft through the opening you can see here with the instructions, look for excessive play, put it back together, and hey, no new engine, or maybe a new engine under warranty. What is the deal with this technical service bulletin? What's the deal with the engine? Is this GM being cheap, or is this just not common sense?
GM already has a bulletin about these engines having crankshaft problems, and owners still have to pay to get them checked? That doesn't sit right with me. We're talking about a diesel engine that can give you a low oil pressure warning and then basically destroy itself. And this isn't some 15-year-old truck either. We're talking 20, 25, and 2026 models. If there's a way to check these engines before they blow up, why isn't GM checking them before the customer ends up needing a whole new engine? That's the part I don't understand. Would you trust a truck after hearing this, or would you get rid of it before the engine fails? Tell me what you do.
This is for the engineers at GM. If you're not an engineer at GM, you don't have to keep watching, but I don't give a shit. So I need to ask, hey, why do you put the oil filter less than like a hand's width away from the catalytic converter? Have you never had a tech walk into your office and have a discussion with you? I really want to know the answer.
All right, guys, today we got a 2014 Chevy Malibu with a 2.5 Ecotec that has a loud rattle on cold start. Here, have a listen. Now that I got the valve cover removed, check out how far the camshaft sprocket has to turn before the camshaft turns. What you just saw was a clear indicator that the locking pin internal to this cam phaser has failed. The good news is you can pull this sprocket off the camshaft without pulling the timing cover if you have these special tools made by OTC that hold the timing chain from falling down when you're servicing the cam sprocket. Now let's pull apart this old cam phaser and see what we find. Well, I fully expected to find a broken locking pin, but the locking pin is still completely intact. Here you can see if I rotate the inner hub of the phaser, the locking pin drops in and locks it together. So if anybody has any ideas as to why this thing wasn't locking together, let me know in the comments. Here you can see the new cam phaser locking pin is fully engaged and working properly. It sounds way better now.
My tailgate, no matter what I do. This thing is closed. Keep pressing it. On here it won't open. Over here, that won't open it. Nothing opens it. Whenever it rains outside and truck gets wet, that's what happens. And the light starts flashing. I'm trying to get some stuff in the back of here, and this is ruining my day here. What a piece of shit truck.
Absolutely pathetic what you pay for these vehicles, and then you get this doesn't work, brand new truck, you have some weird sound coming from the radio, blinker, can't even hear it. Just pathetic what you pay for these trucks and then have to deal with issues like this with a brand new truck. Come on, GMC, do better.
Thinking about buying a 2015 Chevy Equinox with a 2.4-liter Ecotec? Before you sign those papers and inherit somebody else's problems? Let's talk about it, because this SUV has one special talent, turning perfectly good oil into exhaust smoke and repair bills. From the outside, it looks like the ideal family crossover. Comfortable, roomy, decent MPGs, but underneath, this thing keeps mechanics busy. Do you own one of these? Drop it down in the comments. How many timing chains and quarts of oil has yours consumed? Some of the pros of this vehicle: comfortable ride, spacious interior, good visibility, easy to drive, affordable used prices, decent fuel economy. Parts availability is excellent, and they're pretty easy to work on compared to newer SUVs. Some of the cons with this car include extreme extremely common oil consumption issues. Timing chain failures caused by low oil level. Weak 2.4-liter struggles under load. PCV system failures. Rear main seal blowouts. Constant check engine lights. Transmission issues at higher mileage. Interior quality ages poorly. And the resale value falls harder than a Harbor Freight jack with no fluid in it. Some of the common problems with this car include oil burning, timing chain stretch and failure, camshaft actuator failures, rear main seal leaks, excessive piston and ring wear, StabiliTrak warnings, HVAC blend door issues, wheel bearing failures, transmission hesitation or shudder, and catalytic converter damage from burning oil. And the worst part? A lot of these issues stack together like a terrible combo meal. Burn oil, damaged timing chain, damaged catalytic converter, owner trades it in before the engine starts sounding like marbles in a blender. The resale value for this car is below average. There's a reason these are cheap used. The discount is the warning label. These have a driver's rating of 2.8 out of 5. People love them when they're running right. Problem is, that phase can be temporary. These have a safety rating of 4 out of 5. Honestly, one of the better things about it. But would I recommend one? Absolutely not. Especially not with a 2.4 liter. If you absolutely must buy an Equinox from this generation, the V6 is a little safer of a bet. But the 2.4 liter, too many known engine issues. Too many oil consumption failures. Too many timing chains. As a mechanic, I've seen way too many of these things come in low on oil, knocking, timing codes, smoking, or completely cooked. And the owners usually always say the same thing. But it was driving fine last week. From a mechanic's viewpoint, this is one of those vehicles where sometimes maintenance alone isn't enough to save it. You can change the oil religiously, baby the engine, and still end up fighting oil consumption problems because of piston ring design issues. Once they start burning oil badly, owners either constantly top it off forever, or forget once, and the timing chain starts planning your financial downfall. This SUV single-handedly keeps parts stores stocked with 5-quart jugs. The lifespan of this vehicle? Well-maintained and lucky, 180,000 miles. Average neglected one? Significantly less. Worst case, new engine incoming territory long before that. The 2014 Chevy Equinox 2.4 liter is one of those vehicles that just teach people an important life lesson. Just because a vehicle is everywhere doesn't mean it's good. Cheap to buy? Yep. Cheap to keep? Absolutely not.
Listen to this, guys. Listen. Are you sure you want a GM vehicle? I know they look good. I know the Escalades look good. I know the Silverados look good. I know the Denalis look good. But do you want your engine sounding like this? And you know what's funny? That GM, you'll take it to the dealership and they'll tell you to go kick rocks. They're not gonna fix it for you. And then you still owe them like 30 grand. These trucks don't even get it to get paid off when the engines are already out. And this engine right here, this is a 6-cylinder. And this engine here is about $6,000 at the dealer. New engine, $6,000. Truck's not paid off and you have to make over a $7,000 repair after fluids, spark plug seals, labor, whatever you need in order to get this engine replaced. And yes, you can pull off by doing the cam and lifters, but even though you fix only that, it's still an expensive repair. And I still find it really bad quality to be doing that kind of job on a car that barely hit 100,000 miles. That's crazy. It sounds really bad from here, really, really bad. And a lot of people want to talk about Toyota engines doing the same thing. Now, here's the thing with Toyota. Toyota is actually warranting their engines. If you take this truck to Chevy right now and ask them and tell them that the engine is bad, they're not going to warranty your engine. They're going to pretty much tell you to go kick rocks, even though you probably owe them like 30, 20, 25 grand on the truck. It sucks, but it is what it is.
These are not 15 or 20-year-old trucks. We're talking about relatively new vehicles, expensive repairs, stranded owners, and engines that shouldn't be having these kinds of problems this early. At the end of the day, people work hard for these trucks. They expect them to last. And honestly, that's not asking for too much. So let me know what you think. Would you still buy a new GM truck? Yes or no? And have you ever owned a GM truck? If so, tell us the model and year.